I had an interview with an independent candidate who's standing for the Congress. He's the youngest candidate, and I spoke to him and his staffer about what's going on in the presidential election, because I don't actually understand it. If Biden is not going to stand, what happens? I mean, how do they work this out? So I wanted to hear what they have to say. And they also have a very interesting perspective on what's actually happening in America at the moment. I'm really pleased to be joined on Not the Andrew Marr Show by two outstanding US activists who are fighting the two-party, what we call the Uni Party. We've got a Uni Party here, you've got a Uni Party there. What George Galloway says are two cheeks of the same backside. And joining us, we've got Kynan Thistlethwaite, who's co-founder of Declaring Independence and a staffer of the Jose Vega campaign, and we have Jose Vega himself, who is standing as a candidate for Congress in the NY15 ward. What is it?
Congressional district, yeah.
Congressional district, yeah. And a journalist, and you're both activists. We saw before that you really do upset the establishment. You go out to where they are and you tell them to their face what's going on, especially with foreign affairs. You were talking about Ukraine. You've done protests on Ukraine and on Israel's treatment of Palestine. Now, the thing I wanted to ask you about, because we're all confused over here, I'm sure people are confused in the States about this, but I'm just going to play a video.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin.
That's been quite big. We've all seen it over here as well. I mean, that must have been all over the place there. He was Joe Biden was being put under the spotlight for whether he was right for the job or not. Is it now clear in the States that that he's not right for the job?
Yeah, well, I think it's incredibly clear now that instead of a functional president, you have a rotting corpse right now as the president. And really, I think it's even clearer that the presidency itself is vacant. No one knows exactly who is in charge right now. And that's quite unprecedented right now in the history of the country, especially when you have a very dangerous global situation. You know, the war in Ukraine is escalating. It is not letting up. And we are doubling down right now on the amount of weapons that we're giving. And our stated goal to inflict the strategic defeat on Russia. I mean, you have the situation in Gaza right now, which is horrific. It's veering on genocide right now. It has veered on genocide, and you may have seen the report in the Lancet where you had over 186,000 deaths that were stated. It's horrifying. And the fact that you don't have a functional president right now, it's quite scary. And I think the challenge, the onus is on the American electorate right now more than anyone else, because you don't, like you said, it's a uniparty. Donald Trump is not a qualified candidate. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not qualified either. So what is the population prepared to do to intervene in this moment, I think is the question to be asking ourselves right now.
I mean, and Jose, if he's a puppet, Biden, because he obviously doesn't really know what he's doing in some ways. I mean, in many ways, who is the puppet master? We don't really know who's pulling his strings.
Well, yeah, I mean, this has kind of been known for. It's not something that was just like, oh my God, we all thought this man was the most sane, of sound mind, reasonable, next Abraham Lincoln president. It was known for months that this guy was just, falling asleep at the wheel, dementia ridden. I mean, the Europeans love to make fun of Biden all the time. Way before this debate, or even before this debacle with the NATO summit, as to who's actually running the country, that's a good question, because that's what we've been posing to people in the streets. you want to say, okay, well, this guy clearly can't run the country, but who is? And I think the fact that we don't know is quite concerning. I mean, there's talk that maybe Obama might be involved somehow, or Nancy Pelosi might be involved. I don't know if these names mean anything to you,
Yeah.
yeah, that they might be pulling the strings somehow behind the scenes, but genuinely, we just don't know. And the problem that we've been seeing in the media here in the United States is that nobody really is interested in finding out, because everyone's saying, oh, Biden should be replaced, Biden should drop out, when the glaring lie here being told is, who is running the country right now? We know it's not Joe Biden. I mean, just you think about the level of mental awareness it requires just to even be president, which I guess is such a low bar, right? But you look at somebody like Vladimir Putin and you look at their daily schedule. I mean, it's chock full and thick, and the amount of interviews he's doing and speeches and the places he's traveling, and the fact that he just sounds coherent should not be a bar for a president. And there's no way Joe Biden is doing anything remotely close to what a Xi Jinping or even a Vladimir Putin are doing. So, who the puppet master is, we don't know. We should know, because we live in a so-called democracy and we don't know who's making our decisions. It's certainly not Kamala Harris, the vice president, because she's, if not more of an idiot than he is, and she's actually coherent.
Right. Okay. That's pretty alarming. Now, Kynan, sorry, I'm a bit confused about what the people are saying. He should stand down, but what happens if he stands down? Don't you have to have all this selection of a candidate? I mean, how are they going to do that in time? Isn't the elections in November? So how would they possibly be able to sort that out? What's the proposal if he does stand down?
Well, it is a quite tricky situation for the Democrats right now. And we do have, it's not a majority, I'd say. I think you have about 14 congressmen right now that have officially called for his withdrawal. And of course, there have been sort of leaked statements from his insiders that they want him to step down, that he's clearly not mentally competent to run the presidency. And to be honest, I'm not sure how this would go down. I mean, there's been talks about Michelle Obama sort of stepping in as the miracle worker, Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of California. But frankly, I think it's just way too late to be making this kind of decision. I mean, the nomination is going to be happening, a week or two from now, and the fact, I mean, the idea that they could just step in with their candidate to replace them, it's quite ridiculous. I don't think it's going to work. I think they've I think they put themselves in a corner and, quite frankly, screwed themselves on this one.
I think I see your confusion there as to, like, how can somebody just step in? Don't we have a democratically elected process, right, where somebody can just step in? Well, here's the truth. You talk about the two-party system or the Uni Party, right? So here we have the Democrats and the Republicans, right? The Democrats are actually a private club. Like, they're actually a corporation at the end of the day. So even though they go through this entire facade and song and dance of what we call a primary election, I don't know if it's the same thing in the UK, but here in the United States, there's basically two elections. So there's the general election. That's something you guys should know. You just had a general election, right? We have general elections. Our general election will be in November. Okay. But before the general election, there is a primary, right? So, for example, who will be representing, let's say, the Democrats here, right? For president, there are elections around the country. They're held at different dates in different states as to, whether we want Joe Biden to continue being the nominee or we want somebody else. And the truth is, this year with the primary elections, Biden was the only one on the ballot, but he technically got all those votes to continue being the Democratic primary nominee. But the truth is, none of it matters until the convention, which is happening in August. Because, right, so there's a convention, and when people vote in their states for who they want their nominee to be, they don't vote for Biden. They're voting for a delegate who will then go vote for Biden. But that's a little loophole the Democrats have put in for in exactly this situation where the delegate doesn't have to abide by who they are supposed to vote for. They can vote for anybody else because the Democratic Party is a corporation that can make up rules like this. And if, the Democratic Party bosses say, hey, delegates, you're going to vote for somebody else instead of Biden at the convention, they'll listen.
Wow. That's just, I mean, if that happened in another country, they'd say that was a sort of banana republic, or, you know what I mean? All these kind of
no, well, we live in the best country in the world. It's the most free.
Right. Okay, I'll let you. Now, the thing about the thing about this is that the two parties systems being totally discredited by what's happening there. And I couldn't help but notice in that clip where Biden misspoke, people clapped after he said Putin. I mean, are there a lot of sycophants who just, even if he's blundering his way through, will keep saying he's great? I mean, is that something you're seeing as well? I mean, in the Democrat Party, is it like the emperor's new clothes? This guy is not wearing any clothes, but no one's saying anything. I mean, what would you say about that, Kynan?
I think it's exactly an emperor in the no clothes situation. It's exactly that. It's quite horrifying because clearly this situation calls on you to invoke the 25th Amendment, which is the process, of impeaching the president, and getting the vice president, Kamala Harris, to step forward. I mean, the problem is you're kind of in a catch-22 where the vice president is, if not more incompetent than Biden right now. So you have a vacancy of leadership, I think. It really calls on you. I think the question is, how is the electorate going to respond? I mean, we have independent candidacies, thankfully, in the United States, much like you have Galloway over there, who unfortunately lost his election, but I think is setting the precedent in the future for something greater. And Jose Vega right now is running his independent candidacy in the Bronx for Congress. And he's truly an anti-war candidate. He's presenting the reality of the situation as it's unfolding now. We're on the precipice of nuclear war. What the Biden administration has done has not worked. It's taking us closer to war. So we need to declare our independence, go back to our roots, the Declaration of Independence, really, because the two-party system, it's over. It's finished. I think the population realizes that. It's just, the question is, when are they going to decide to act right now?
Right, it's the same here. I mean, we had a disastrous election with a low turnout, very little enthusiasm. Labour won with a big number of seats, but a lower vote than Jeremy Corbyn had in 2019. So the population are not interested in the two parties, but as you say, it's sort of getting used to that reality of they don't have to vote for these two. It doesn't have to be that way. It's the kind of same thing we experience. But I just want to share a little clip that will resonate with people here as much. And obviously, you know about this clip, but anyway, I'll play it.
I'm sick of these areas being run and controlled by Democrats. When he said independent, I know they thought I was joking, but we need you here. I'm sick of it. Working class America is sick of it. Amen. They always tell us, at least vote for the lesser of two evils, but hell doesn't feel better in the wintertime or the summertime. Good luck to you, brother.
Well, thank you kindly.
All right,
thank you. Have a good one.
I'm serious.
Maybe I should adopt that as my campaign slogan.
So, Jose, you seem to be getting a good response out there on the street. So what else? I mean, that's one example, but can you tell us what else you're hearing when you go out trying to canvass and get votes?
Sure. And just to kind of explain to your viewers what exactly I'm running for, the closest equivalent you have over in Europe would be a George Galloway. would be a member of parliament. And if people may know the names like Nancy Pelosi, I'm running for the equivalent of her position, right? A congressperson. She's a congresswoman. I'd be a congressman. And that's what I'm running for. That's just how our elections work. I turned 25 years old, and that's the legal minimum at which you can begin running for Congress. So that's what I'm running for.
Are you the youngest candidate, Guy?
I believe so far.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Well,
so
sorry, I just wanted to hit. I didn't know 25. I mean, it's 18 here, I think. So it's a bit. You have to be quite old out there to stand.
You could be 18 years old and a member of parliament in Europe.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would trust that. I was pretty stupid at 18. So, you know, but
actually, it might be 21. No, I think they changed it to 18. Yeah, but yeah, so 25. I mean, you've got quite a lot of experience already. I mean, so yeah, not.
No, I know. Look, I appreciate that. I mean, what am I finding in the streets? Exactly what you just saw there. Well, but also I think, how do I explain this? Yes, the entire voting population has had this moment where they can no longer ignore the fact that Joe Biden has dementia. This is something that was already known. This isn't the first time we've seen Joe Biden slipping up like this, flubbing words, freezing in the middle of his speeches. The truth is, what the debate did was just give people a way to say it's okay to say that Joe Biden has dementia. It was already something that was known in the back of people's minds, but they were too afraid to say it. Why would they be too afraid to say it? Because they don't want to upset their friends? No, because it's a very scary reality to actually commit to understanding what does it mean when your president has dementia. It's funny to people like us, maybe, who are just like, what the hell is going on? But to the everyday citizen, to confront a reality that they don't know who the president is deeply terrifying, because that means there's somebody who's running the nuclear suitcase right now that we don't know, who could do something completely drastic and crazy and do something that will just annihilate and end the world right there and then. And so when I'm out there in the streets and I tell people, like, listen, did you see this thing with Biden? And they say, yeah, but the truth is Trump is much worse. That's one of the lines I say. I say, okay, you think Trump is worse? Okay, who's running your country right now? And then they're like, well, I don't know. And then I say, I am running for Congress, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican, but an independent. And they immediately like, that's what we need. I don't know if I can vote any of these parties again. We need an independent. And people, it's like you make it okay. You make it okay for people to say it's okay not to vote for either of these parties. Wow. I'm not getting the line anymore that independents can't win. I'm getting the line, well, we need independence. We need more independence. That's what I'm getting.
Well, in our election last week, we had 5 independent MPs elected, and 2 of them had been campaigning since February or January or February, knocking on doors with like 30 people. But the party machines of the Democrats and the Republicans must be very difficult to come up against. I mean, they've got all the data, haven't they? They've got more advertising, stuff like that. What do you think the chances of winning on the ground are, Kynan?
I think we have a very good chance. I like you said, you're at an unprecedented moment now when the narrative that's been presented to people is just not working anymore. It's just obvious if you look at the reality, and no amount of advertising or money that will be put in by these machines, which are very strong. I mean, very present, especially the Zionist lobby, which Jose actually had a run into in not his district, but up north in the 16th district, where Jamal Bowman had lost his primary to this guy named George Latimer, who's essentially a puppet of the APAC lobby. That's the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. And it was quite unprecedented because it was the most expensive primary in U.S. history. About $25 million was spent by this lobby mostly so that they could oust Bowman from his seat. And it was merely because he was speaking out against the genocide. You know, he was calling for a ceasefire, which is obvious. And for that, they spent all this money and took out his seat. So that gives you an idea on the state of American politics right now. It's incredibly corrupt. It's in no way democratic at all. But I think we have a shot because we're constantly on the ground each day. We're educating people, and we're going into communities. It's not going to be easy, as they say, but it's certainly a job that's worth doing. It's a mission that's worth doing, and more independent candidates need to stand up right now.
Is there a lot more independents than you, Jose? Is it a movement across the country, or is it
Well,
growing?
I don't know if the independents across the country that are running have the same kind of notoriety that myself and my friend Diane Sayre have. Diane Sayre is running in New York State. I'm in New York, but I'm in this small section of New York City called the Bronx.
Right.
Diane is running for the entire state of New York as a senator. So the way our government works is we have the president at the tippy top, we have the Senate, and then the Congress. We have, those are the three layers of our government. Now, and the other independent candidates, I don't think they have the same. I mean, Dennis Kucinich, who's running in Ohio, might be the next best thing. Because he's a former congressman who went through the two-party system and has renounced, kind of like George Galloway, actually. Where Kucinich was in the Congress, he left, and now he's running again to see if he can be reelected as an independent this time. Look, as to whether or not we have a shot to win, I mean, I always tell people who ask me, well, can you win? Because Richie Torres has $9 million in his treasure chest right now. That's my opponent, Richie Torres, who is the IPAC baby. I mean, he's a proud
9 million. So how much can he spend? Is there any rules on spending? Can they spend as much as they like?
He can spend as much as he can raise, which
wow, we don't have that here. You have a limit here. You can't spend more than a certain amount. Yeah.
Well, we gotta adopt some of those rules, but no, he can spend as much as he wants, and the American Israeli Political Action Committee can spend as much money as they want, influencing the campaign. This is what Kynan was talking about with our neighboring district, where Jamal Bowman, who is a congressman, lost his seat in the primary to an a pro-Israeli Zionist warmonger. Now, look, so people ask me, can you win? Can you even come close to winning? And my answer is, well, we have to. I don't know if we can. I just know we have to. And I mean, some of the things, I mean, not to freak out you and your European audience, but I don't even know if our elections are just honest. They don't even count the votes properly or accurately on purpose. I mean, I don't know if this is going up on YouTube. I don't know if we can talk about that, but it's just proven that New York State and New York City are one of the most corrupt places when it comes to voting, because it's all done through machines and ballot harvesting. What it would require for us to actually win, I mean, and I'm just putting this straight out there for you, is 2,000 people and on the ground and about a lot more money. And it would mean we would need to count the vote before they go vote. So we would need to get commitments from people who say, yes, I'm going to go to the poll and I'm going to vote Jose Vega. And then they would sign some kind of affidavit or something afterwards saying, like, yes, I voted for you. I mean, it's as insane, right? That in a democratic society, I have to count the vote before the people at the polls do, because this is just what they do. They mess with our vote. So, As far as they're concerned, they're thinking I'm not even the threat, not even because I could probably get a vote, but because they can just control what vote they want to give me.
Yeah, I mean, we do have worries that that's happening here with postal votes being lost and stuff like that. It's great to be in a Western democracy, isn't it? So I just wanted to finish the interview. I just wanted to show people that you haven't given up on your other side of you, which is the activism. I found this clip of this is pretty alarming stuff.
Oh my God, our government listens to idiots like you? I mean, you sound so incoherent. Were you responsible for Biden's performance on the debate last week? I'm supposed to believe that Xi Jinping is this evil dictator when the United States is actually responsible for a three-front world war? Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, the three fronts of World War III, and idiots like you are trying to tell me China is the actual responsible one for World War III? I'm supposed to believe China is surveilling our kids? We have a mass surveillance state here. It's called fascism, okay? The NSA spies on everything we do. You think I give a shit if Xi Jinping cares about what I'm doing? The United States government already spies on me. This incoherent idiot up on the stage is no different than the incoherent babbler named Biden, who probably isn't running our government. Okay, I can't believe Richie Torres has you come and testify at our government, in our Congress. You're a fucking disgrace, okay? There is an alternative to the world right now. We don't need to have World War III. We can actually work with China. Did you know that? We can work with China every time they come. They offer a peaceful solution. Listen, don't start World War III. He's choking me. He's choking me. Holy shit. Jesus Christ, he just choked me. Jesus. Hey, my neck really hurts, man. Fuck. Oh, fuck. I can't breathe. Oh. Hey, all right, stand up. Stand up. Fuck. Stand up. Jesus Christ. What the hey, I'm not done talking about peace, man. You can't manipulate the American population anymore. People will not fall for your antics. We can join the BRICS. We can work with the people. The fascism and the tyranny has to end here. We don't need to go to war. I'm pleading with people. I'm pleading with the American population. Don't listen to the idiots on stage. You have fascism in your own country. Don't let them take you to World War III.
Wow, fantastic. Jose, how did you, I mean, that whole tuxedo and the whole thing, I mean, you had to do you had a mic on you as well. Must have had a mic on you to pick it up. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah, you have a friend of yours record the video and then you use your phone as a voice recorder.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm really impressed by what you're doing, I have to say. And it was a disappointment for us in this country when we had Starmer elected and this nonsense about change, and there's no change whatsoever. But knowing you two are out there fighting for peace and social justice, I mean, we're going to have to up our game over here with some of our actions as well. What would you suggest for an alliance between the left in the US and over here?
Oh, an international independence movement? Absolutely. I'm all for it. And I think if you want to help us with it, you know, if you know anybody, if you know a Claire Daly or a Mick Wallace, I'd like, you know, who can talk to us, connect us through, man. I mean, you know, I think we do need to establish an international independence movement. It's the only thing that can work to moralize the so-called West, you know. I mean, Russia, China, and some of these other Asian countries are just laughing at us right now because we're just going into this decline. I am all for an international independence movement. And I think it's a great idea.